Hello everyone, my name is Alexey and today I am going to tell you about Promise.all.Settled method. I've received questions about Promise.all.Settled method on the interview to front-end engineer position. I want to tell you about how method all-settled works, difference from Promise.all method, and how we can use Promise.all.Settled in our front-end applications. Firstly, let's deal with definition of Promise.all.Settled. So, all-settled it's a static method of global promise object, which takes an array of promises as input and returns a single promise. The returned promise fulfills when all of the input promises settle with an array of objects that describes the outcome of each promise. And let's take a look on practice. So, I've created a simulation of two requests to the server for getting users. So, as a user 1, I'm taking Alexey, and as user 2, I'm taking John, and I'm simulating delay from the server with setTimeout function. And let's try to pass array of these users to Promise.all.Settled. So user 1, comma, user 2. And Promise.all.Settled returns promise to us. We need to use then. Here we are expecting some result, so result. And let's log it. Result. Yes. And let's see what we have in the console. Okay, cool. As we can see, as a result of Promise.all.Settled, we have an array of objects with field status fulfilled, its status of a specific promise, and value, its value with which promise was resolved. But what if we will add rejected promise? For example, user 3 or rejected user. For example, we had an error while requesting this user from the server. Let's add the code. And we have rejected user. I'm here returning new promise with setTimeout and reject this promise with new error and message error while requesting a user. Let's add this rejected user to the array. And what we will see? Yes, our program executed right, and we don't have any errors here. But we have interesting array here. First two elements, as we can see, it's our fulfilled promises, user 1 and user 2. But what about rejected user? In this object, we have also status, at status of this promise, and an error, so stack and message, so message error while requesting a user. As we can see, we can use Promise.all.Settled without wrapping our code with try catch. So after executing all promises, we can iterate through them and find, for example, rejected promises and add the reason to some tooltip or to some model window or to some notification, etc. And that's the main difference from the Promise.all. Let's compare them. Nice, let's try to replace our all-settled method with all. And try to execute it. So, as we can see, we have an error in our console. So, uncaught and promise error while requesting a user. So, Promise.all throw an error when we have a rejected promise in our array. And it's typically used when there are multiple related asynchronous tasks that the overall code relies to work successfully. So all of whom we want to fulfill before the code execution continues. So if we have 3 promises and every of these promises must be fulfilled, or we will throw an error, we need to use Promise.all. And Promise.all.settled typically used when we have multiple asynchronous tasks that are not dependent on one another to complete successfully. So we just need to use and know the result of each promise. So let's return our Promise.all.settled, and let's try to figure out where we can use Promise.all.settled in the real life. Nice. Let's figure out how Promise.all.settled can be useful in the real life. And for example, we have line chart, and we have different cryptocurrencies here. And for example, separate data points for chart means separate request. For example, for Bitcoin for Bitcoin line, we need to have one request, second request for Ethereum, third request for BNB, and others. And for example, we our requests for Bitcoin and Ethereum was successful, but a request for BNB was not successful. And what we need to do here, we don't have to show the error page for user, so app was crashed, etc. We can display line for Bitcoin, line for Ethereum, and for BNB we can add, for example, here some rectangle as a notification and say that some error was occurred with BNB data points and something like that. So user can see other chart lines, and user can see understandable notification what was wrong. So we are getting Bitcoin and Ethereum and BNB, we are iterating through this objects, and if some promise was rejected, we can add a notification here. And the second example is language tool. It's a service which allows you to paste the text here and correct it or paraphrase. And for example, while pasting text here, we have two requests: to correcting this text and paraphrasing. And for example, we received a response from the server with correcting this text, but we received an error in paraphrasing. And we also don't have to redirect user to error page or something like that and show to the whole page banner that app was crashed. No, we just need to add, for example, for paraphrase here mini window that paraphrase request was failed, please refresh. And we can work with correcting our English text. So how all settled can be useful for applications in the real life. Okay, let's sum up the information, and as we can see, Promise.all.settled we can use when we have an array of separated promises. If one of them or two of them will be rejected, our application will continue to work and user will be able to interact with the page. And Promise.all we can use and must use when we have multiple related promises in one array, and if one or two of them will be failed, will be rejected, we need to throw an error. So that's it. Please like, subscribe, stay tuned, subscribe to my Telegram channel, check please the description, and bye.